Okay, welcome back. We've just had the trailer for the latest expansion, Fantastical Parade, so we're going to go and have a look at some of the cards. Hey, I'm Andy, I make videos about Pokemon TCG Pocket. If you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a like, maybe give the channel a sub, and let's get into it. So, as always, we start off with the trainer cards, because they're usually the things that have the most effect on the set. So this time last year, we had Space Time Smackdown came out, and it introduced tools. This year, we've got stadiums, which are a little bit different. So the main thing with Stadium is there can only be one in play at any one time, and if you play another one, a different one, you can't play the same one if the same one's already in play. If someone plays another one, it overwrites the current one. So what that means is we now have a little mini game of, if both players have two Stadium cards, two different Stadium cards, the first person to play their Stadium card basically loses the tug of war. So we now have like a little mini game of like when you play your stadiums, and like do you take stadiums just to disrupt someone else's stadium, which if there are certain broken stadiums, then that's going to have to be a thing. So I'm assuming there is more than one stadium in this pack so that you can counterplay this one, but the one we have is Peculiar Plaza. So the retreat cost of each psychic Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's, is 2 less, which is pretty good. So removing retreat cost is very good. It means sort of retreating in and out is quite nice. Just increasing the sort of energy efficiency of your deck, like not having to do stuff. And also it means that you're effectively immune if your opponent, like Cyrus, is in something with no energy on it. Because you don't have to pay a cost to retreat it, as long as it has 2 or less retreat cost. It's caged to psychic, which is good. And it's obviously, the thing is, it affects both players, so I'm assuming this is going to be the theme with stadiums, where they affect everybody, maybe with a particular theme. It would have been nice to see the other stadium, but we'll see it in a week. On to the supporters. So we have Diantha, which is heal 90 from one of your psychic Pokemon, has 2 or more psychic energy attached. If you healed any damage in this way, discard 2 energy from that Pokemon. So it's an incredible heal that works on any psychic Pokemon. However, the cost is pretty steep at losing 2 energy. For example, something like an Altaria would like this, but it sort of needs to have 3 energy on it when you play this card. Or at least you need to go into your 3rd energy. So you just dump the 2 energy that's currently on the Altaria, heal it, play your new energy, and then next turn you can still swing. So it does have a big cost. Which means it's not going to be useful on everything. It is useful on like the Mega Gardevoir, which we'll get onto later. So maybe we can talk about that when we get there. We then have Peers. So you can use this card only if you have a Galarian Optigoon in play. Discard 2 random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. I laughed out loud when I saw this card, because it is stupidly broken. Stupidly broken, but also caged to Galarian Optigoon, which is a stage 2. So it's not as easy to get, it's not as automatic to get out. However, and we'll get to it in a minute, is like the Obstagoon, normally with these kind of Pokemon linked cards, the stuff you can play it on is not that good usually, but the effect is pretty broken, and also the Obstagoon does seem pretty good as well, but we'll get to that in a bit. Because just discarding 2, even discarding 1 if they're trying to build up something, because what you probably want is there's a lot of 2 energy attackers in the game. So you kind of want to hit them when they're on their 1st energy. Obviously, there's things like Flame Patch, which can help. And obviously, I guess there are weaknesses in the later the game that goes on, the more energy something has. If a 2 energy attack has 3 energy, this doesn't really do that much, unless you like back-to-back Peers them. But just the effect of removing energy is absolutely game-ending. We have Sightseer. Now, to be honest, I don't rate Sightseer that much, because look at the top 4 cards of your deck, put all stage 1 Pokemon you find there into your hand, shuffle the other cards back in your deck. So it draws 4 cards. There is a possibility you don't draw any stage 1s. At that point, it does shuffle the other cards back, so there's a chance that maybe it'll push stage 1s up to the top of your deck. However, it's not a guaranteed effect. Like if it let you pull a stage 1, that would be a bit more useful. So I can see this being played in like specific stage 1 focused decks where you're running like multiple stage 1s. There's no use in something like an Altaria deck, because you can just play Serena to specifically search for the Mega. And no one does that anyway. But yeah, Sightsee, I'm not a big fan because it's not a guaranteed effect. But it's again, the problem with support thing is it's competing with things like Copycat, even May slightly as well. So I'm not quite sure if this will see play. On to tools, so this is a bit blurry, but we've been able to deduce that if this card's attached to one of your Pokemon, discard it at the end of your opponent's turn. It's basically like you put it down and it's just there for the one turn. The steel Pokemon this card's attached to takes minus 50 damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. So this is pretty big, because you can combine it with things like Adamant to reduce damage. The problem is steel doesn't really have a lot of great Pokemon right now, but just being able to reduce damage by 50 per turn. Also, there are a lot of, I think, Skarmory and Mega Steelix also reduce incoming damage as well. So if you can nullify enough damage to the point where you don't get two-shot, this is pretty big. And then also it's like, it's up for one turn, it goes away, but then that opens up to either playing another Metal Core Barrier or playing the Metal Apron, or other tools instead. Okay, let's look at the actual flagship Mega, which is Mega Gardevoir, 210 HP, stage 2. Weak to Dark, 1 retreat cost, which is nice. 2 energy, so it's a fast attacker. Fantasia Force, so 110 energy, 110 damage. Take 3 Psychic Energy from your Energy Zone and attach it to your Psychic Pokemon anywhere you like. This is an obscene ability, so its damage is fine. Like 2 energy for 110 is okay. But the fact you're putting 3 energy to your, and it's not just 3 energy on one, you can sort of spread it around as you like. It's not limited to bench or things. You can place it on this as well. So obviously what this does mean is you bring this out, you swing, you put 2 energy on this, and that's 2 energy you can use to spend on Diantha to heal. The fact that Mega Gardevoir can also potentially heal 90 twice in a game is pretty nuts, because what, a big hit from like Hydreigon or Mega Altaria is 130. So that knocks it down to, what, like 40 damage? So at that point, you're not getting two-shot. If you can do it again, you're not getting... It's just... It gives you the sustain to where the 110 damage lets you just survive long enough to beat out your opponent. So this seems like a very strong card. You're absolutely going to see it is meta-defining. And then the other thing is 110 damage, it's not that much. But then if you put 3 energy on, say, a Giratina or a Mewtwo on the bench, because I think you're probably only running like basics with this. What you then do, you can then bring in those, and then Mewtwo hits for 150, Giratina hits for 130, so 110 into 150 is like 260. But that's the point where you can easily two-shot other big megas in the game. Because 110 will get you most megas, but not everything. So Mega Gardevoir seems pretty strong on its own, but it's going to be interesting to see what other stuff this combines with. Mega Mawile. So just a basic 170 heat up crunch, 60 damage for 2, which is not great, but it's a basic. Until this Pokemon leaves the active spot, this Pokemon's heat up crunch attack does plus 30 damage to the effect stacks. So what it means is when you get 2 energy, you do 60, you do 90, and you do 120. So 60 into 90 is 150, so that's not bad. But if you go first, like it's a lot. I feel like this is a bit too slow in the game now to be effective. The other weakness is that you can just get around the effect by pushing it out of the active slot with like Repel or Sabrina or Cyrus. So the whispers are saying, well, I've heard a lot of talk about people running this as like 19 trainers. So you just run Mega Mawile, one of, that's all you need, and then you just run supporters. So you run things like the tool to block damage, and you just hope that you can survive long enough to build up the heat up crunch to where it's just like two-shotting, one-shotting stuff. But my feeling is maybe it's a bit too slow, and like, so if you're sort of matching a Mega Altaria, it's going to do 130. I don't think you can really get out of a two-shot in that case. It feels like a bit of a meme deck. So moving on to the grass Pokemon, Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. So 130 health. 130 health is fragile because Hydreigon and Altaria do 130, and they're pretty fast attackers, so if you don't cape this up, you just lose it. It does have an ability Soothing Wind, so each of your Pokemon has an energy attached, recovers from all special conditions and can't be affected by any special conditions. Not terrible. I kind of feel like Indeedee's probably still better just for healing the chip damage. Sleep is kind of around at the moment with Venusaur and Swablu, but don't know if it's enough that that ability is good or relevant enough. Then we have Energized Leaf, so 2 energy, so that's pretty good. 60 damage, okay. And if the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon is 5 or more, this attack does 60 more damage. So it's 120 if there's like 5 energy between the 2 active Pokemon. So if you run this with, say, Superior, that counts as 4, so you're pretty much guaranteed to trigger it then. You sort of need one of the Pokemon to have 3 energy on it. It's okay. Like, the condition is a bit weird. The main problem is that it's 130 health. 160 with a cape, but 130 is just so fragile. So this could be a support on a grass deck, maybe. I don't know if it's good enough to lead a deck by itself. Mimikyu EX, 120. So as we talked about, 130 is fragile, 120 is a bit of a joke. Slash cost of 2 energy for 70 is... okay, on the basic, it's not terrible. 2 retreat cost is bad. Because unless you're playing the new Stadium, it's going to be really difficult to retreat if you start off with this one. So we have Disguise. So when this Pokemon is first damaged by an attack after coming into play, prevent that damage. Okay. Don't hate it. It's also not the turn it comes into play. It's like it can come into play at any point and then whenever the damage happens. So obviously, I mean, it's you ignore the first chip damage, or you can bring it into like eat up like a big attack, but then you're only doing 70 damage. There's 2 retreat costs, so if you don't have the Stadium, it's a bit slow to get out. Like, I can see this as... maybe there's a use for this as just like a sacrificial thing. So you've got like another Mega, and you just lose 2 points for the Mimikyu. So the Mimikyu comes in, like eats an attack, and does 70, 140 damage. And then goes away. I don't think... the stats are all a bit wrong. Like, the 2 retreat cost is not good. The 120 health is bad. The damage is okay. Yeah, like it's surviving the first damage. It's like, okay, so what? Okay, so we talked about Piers. So Galarian, Obstagoon, stage 2. So obviously, in order to play Piers, you have to have this on the board. Between rare candies and like stuff, I think you're okay. Merciless Strike. So 2 energy for 70. Decent on a stage 2 one pointer. If opponent's active Pokemon has damage on it, this attack does 50 more damage. So that's 120. So obviously this is a big deal because what does it mean? It means Darkrai, Greninja, any kind of like Rocky Helmet, Poison, anything like that. Anything that pings the active. So this is really good. Also, like if you're playing Baby Absol and you sort of ping the bench and then Cyrus it something in, that's pretty good as well. So obviously the main thing is like Darkrai, because you can ping for 20 with Darkrai and then you're doing 140, which is like a decent amount of damage. So you're getting into... it's important that it's hitting 120 because that sort of one-shots most... sorry, 2-shots a lot of stuff. So the one thing that was stopping Piers from becoming quite common would be if Obstagoon was crap. Obstagoon is not crap. It's probably going to be the kind of high... it might be the Hydreigon or like Silverly of this kind of set, I think. Vanillite, 60-20, cool. We have the Fire Aura Corridor, which is 70 health, okay. 1 retreat cost, okay. 1 health for 10 damage, that's 1 energy for 10 damage. So during your next turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do plus 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So you can do 10, and then you can do 30, and continually do 30. So it's okay, it gets rid of babies. I can see the idea being that you put 1 energy on this, you retreat into like a 2 energy attacker and Flame Patch something, so you're getting like plus 20 to whatever you Flame Patch. But it's a bit of setup, and there's a good chance you just lose the Oricorio doing it. We have Pumpkaboo, so that's good. I like seeing more Ghost Pokemon. I'm hoping maybe Mega Gengar's just hasn't been revealed yet, but it's probably being saved to be like a flagship for another set. Phalanx. So 70 health, 1 retreat cost, weak to Psychic. 1 for 20 is okay. Coordinate unit, if you have another Phalanx in play, this Pokemon's attacks do plus 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, and this Pokemon takes minus 20 damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. Not bad. If you have both out, it means it's doing 40 damage, which is not a bad... for just like a basic 1 energy, it's not a terrible amount of damage. It gets rid of babies. You can 2-shot a lot of other basics. Seems decent, and also it's 70 health, but then you're taking minus 20 as well, so it can sort of ignore a lot of chip damage. I don't hate this. But then what do you put it with? Do you put it with a Lucario to give even more damage? I don't know. Again, it feels like fighting is just waiting for its decent Mega. And then maybe this would be okay as like something you throw out to begin with. We have a Lydian, 80 HP, stage 1, so 1 energy for Swift, 40. The attack isn't affected by weakness or by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. I think that goes through Oricorio, I'm not 100% sure. So is it a Grass Oricorio counter? I don't know. Other than that, who cares? Meloetta, so 70 basic. 1 retreat cost, Side Shot, 2 energy for 50 is absolutely fine. It's not terrible. Strange Singing at the beginning of your turn. If this Pokemon is in the active spot, put a random Psychic Pokemon from your deck into your hand. Pretty good. Because with like Find a Friend and other stuff, it usually requires you have to do an attack first. So you're sort of getting value from this regardless of whether you attack. So what it means is you could potentially use the ability and then retreat it. So if you've got something you can play at the start of your turn, draw into like the stage 2 that you need, play that on your bench, and then go into it rather than just wasting a turn. So the speed of the effect is pretty good. Possible you could see this in Gardevoir decks. So a bit hard to see, but we have Mousehole, which is stage 1, 70, 1 energy family beatdown, which is 60 times, so flip a coin, each Tandemaus and Mousehole you have in play, this does 60 damage. So you're doing a minimum of 1 coin, max of 2, unless there's another way to put out more of those Pokemon. Or, for example, count as having more on the field. But a coin, yeah, you can get 60 with a guaranteed 60 with Will, maybe 120s. Again, it feels a bit of a meme. Cinderace, so we don't see the retreat cost on this one. We've got 2 energy Fireball Shot during 120, and then during next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. 130, I mean, it's a stage 2, but for a 1-pointer doing the 120 isn't bad. You could try and combo it with the Oricorio to get 140. The fact you can't attack kind of sucks because you need to probably be able to retreat it. Depends on the retreat cost. Retreat cost wouldn't be too bad because of Flame Patch, but retreat cost 0 would be nice. And then lastly, we have Mega Medicham. So it's a promo, so it's probably got the promo curse of being crap, and it does kind of look it. There's 180 fighting, 3 energy, which is a bit slow. Chakra Fist, so 100 damage, and then if this has any psychic energy attached, it does 40 more damage, and the attack's damage isn't affected by any effects of your opponent's active Pokemon. So again, does this mean it punches through Oricorio? Maybe, who knows. It's 3 energy, so already it's a bit slow. Because you've got like Greninja EX is 100 for 2 energy. If it had 2 energy, it would be very interesting. The other thing is, like, it's basically comparable to Poliwrath EX, and that never saw play, even though you've got things like Mantike to ramp. And the problem is, fighting, you don't really have there's no good way to ramp psychic energy onto stuff. Yes, Gardevoir exists now, but you're probably dedicating it to Gardevoir and like some basics, maybe not this. And in that case, where are you getting the fighting energy from? So if there is some way to put even 1 psychic energy onto this, or 1 fighting energy onto it, and you play it in a psychic deck, because we haven't seen the Meditite. So if that has like an ability like, oh, attack, put a psychic energy onto it, maybe we're talking. But as it is, it just doesn't seem viable, which is, you know, standard for the promos, unfortunately. Okay, that was a look at all the new cards that have been revealed in the trailer. I'm assuming we're not going to see any more cards probably until the pack launches in a week's time, at which point I'm going to be doing a full set review, so hopefully you'll join me as we go through that. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, all that, and I will see you later, yeah?